That's what I'm talking about there.
And there's intimacy on the radio, and there's naturalness on the radio that can never be replicated on TV. The marvelous resurgence of radio as a political force in this country.
News-related radio programming is evolving.
There's a huge hole in our dialogue that can be filled by the synthesis of traditional radio and the freedom that comes from a live podcast. You're about to experience Cowboy State Politics live. Here we go. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to another incredible installment from very high above all the puerile, bombastic twits in the Wyoming mainstream media. This is Cowboy State Politics. I, of course, am your illustrious host, David Iverson, firmly ensconced behind the silver Cowboy State Politics microphone and broadcasting to you from the base of the Bighorns at the Cowboy State Politics Studio in Sheridan, Wyoming. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the program. Happy Thursday. We have a tremendous program in store for you today. At the top of the second hour, Wyoming Speaker of the House, Chip Neiman, is going to join us. We have no idea what we're going to talk to him about, but anyway, he's coming. He's going to be on the program for an interview, so you definitely don't want to miss that. And did you watch the Minerals Committee yesterday? All I can say is, holy crap! There's so much stuff in there to unpack that I don't even think that we could get through it in a whole program. But it was a tremendous display of the battle between the people and those folks who think that they're in power. And we're going to get into that a little bit in today's program. And like I said, there's way too much stuff in there to unpack in even an hour. But it's an example of what happens when an entire group of people loses power. And I'm not talking about, the legislature. Or I'm not talking about the conservatives who are actually in power, who have the majority on that committee. I'm talking about the redcoats, the folks who have been in power in Wyoming for generations, for 50 years, probably more. I don't even think that the conservatives have ever really been in power in either house of the Wyoming legislature at all. I mean, Ken, do you?
Well, you're talking about the people that sound like this.
Those are exactly the people I'm talking about. Now, that soundbite is Senator Nancy Case and Senator Bill Landon laughing after they completely destroyed a Second Amendment rights bill. Those are the folks that I'm talking about, that laugh in your face, that make deals behind closed doors, and they got their way for, like I said, the last 50, 60 years. Well, they're not in power anymore. And yesterday was a perfect example of what happens when they're not in power. You see, my friends, the political pendulum swings both ways. And as we know at the national level, when one side gets a little bit too crazy, like we had 4 years of, we all say that it's Joe Biden, but Joe Biden wasn't running the show. It was all the people around him. And they took this country all the way to the furthest left we have ever been. But think about it in terms of a pendulum that's hung on strings, that once you push the pendulum all the way to the left and you let it go, it goes back all the way to the right. But there's a danger in that the pendulum is always going to go back the other way. And even if you push it too hard to one side, it swings all the way around and goes back. And so, for example, in the last election, the House race in House District 40, I think, is a good example. Had a good, solid conservative, Mark Jones. He's been on the program a lot. We all know him. He's a big wig at Gun Owners of America. All of us thought, hey, man, he's a pretty conservative guy. This should be no problem. And it would have been had there not been a third person enter the race. And that third person entered the race because there was a group that really didn't like Mark Jones. And so, in an effort to defeat Mark Jones, they elected a far left redcoat, Marilyn Connolly, as she likes to be called on the. In fact, I don't even know that she's a far left radical. I think she's just dumb as a post. But I don't know. She's
I
funny.
don't think that's accurate either. I think the case with her is she wants to be liked.
Yes, she does.
And she tends to go with whatever group she's with. I remember when we were first trotting out the five and dime, this sounds great. Let's do it.
Yeah, I bet.
And then she got down there and found out maybe she needed to be voting another way according to her friends.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, in any case, the point is that because one group disliked Mark Jones so much, they put a third person in the race, and that was Liberty Poley. Liberty Poley didn't have a prayer in winning for a number of reasons. In Johnson County is a lot like other counties where you have to be pretty well known if you're going to get elected, and you have to be kind of involved.
She wasn't even in town for a big chunk of the time.
Yeah, she was off vacationing most of the time, which tells you that they really didn't have any they really didn't want that office. And had there been a serious effort, maybe she would have gotten a few more votes. But I think the point is that in order to defeat one candidate, they put another candidate in, and they elected the Democrat, the redcoat. And so it's an example of pushing their whole claim for the whole thing was, well, Liberty is way more conservative than Mark Jones, which I don't necessarily think is true. But they attempted to push the pendulum so far to the right that it came all the way back around to the left, and now we have redcoat Connolly. So, but that happens all the time. And Ken, we're seeing one in real time right now. Have you seen the Sydney Sweeney ad? I mean, come on. I know you had.
My wife won't let me.
Oh, good. I'm so glad that she's not here. Play the first one for me.
And I definitely won't say that they're the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn. Or that they make your butt look amazing.
Yes, it does.
Why would I need to do that? But if you said that you want to buy the jeans, I'm not going to stop you. But just so we're clear, this is not me telling you to buy American Eagle jeans.
Sydney Sweeney, Hasbro jeans.
You see what I did there, right?
Yeah, we totally see what you did there. Well, the left is freaking out about this ad campaign. The question is why? Why are they absolutely off their rocker? There was leftist pundits, and maybe I don't think I captured the soundbite, but I think it was on PMS NBC. They had one of their contributors say that ad, that the phrase Sydney Sweeney has good genes, is linked somehow to her being a Nazi, that it's Nazi propaganda. First, I think they've used that word so much that it has no meaning anymore.
Well, she's blonde, blue eyes, so she must be a Nazi.
Obviously, she must be a Nazi. Well, they're freaking out, but there's a bigger reason, right? Because the left pushed the political pendulum so far to one way that it has snapped back in a big way. And the whole point of advertising like that is to sell jeans. And and everybody knows that sex sells. And so you put a good-looking girl in a nice pair of jeans, put her on the screen, and of course, they're going to sell jeans. Well, the left, of course, is freaking out. Now, there's a piece in the New York Post, and it's entitled "Sydney Sweeney Tantrum is all about the left's rage at America's rejection." And I'm going to just read a little bit of it to you. And I quote, "Pretty much everyone wears blue jeans in modern America. Jeans have gone from workwear to high fashion over the last 150 years. Dress them up, dress them down. They're as flexible as American culture. In Wyoming, they might be part of a tuxedo. It depends on where you're going. Perhaps they are so enduring because everyone can wear them. Fat, skinny, tall, short, curvy, curveless, and everything in between. Jeans are the fashion of utility. But when we're buying a pair, we're not contemplating any of that. We want to think about what we could look like when we're wearing them, or who might be attracted to us while we're wearing them. I'm speaking, of course, of the power of advertising, and last week, the latest ad for American Eagle jeans caused extreme distress among the very online crowd. And it's pretty basic. Hot girl, nice pair of jeans, trotting around, buy these jeans, you'll look like Sydney Sweeney. I mean, that's the message that the ad is going through. But it's a much bigger message for the American left, because they started out by saying, not everybody can look like Sid. And this is way before, 4 years ago, when this leftist crap started. It was, you really should be proud of, what you look like, who you are. And we went through this whole body, what did they call it, Ken? Body sensitivity, body acceptance, something like that. I don't even remember the phrase. But it was, you should be happy in the skin you're in. And I totally agree. But the fact is, some people are not hot. Other people are really hot. And you just need to accept that. But it went so far to the left that we had people like Lizzo dressing up in size 85 jeans, and we're led to believe that somehow that is attractive. And that's where the left, left everything at.
Yeah, look what happened to Victoria's Secret.
Oh, yeah. That's another good example, right? Leftist advertising run amok. Well, let me give you another Sydney Sweeney ad. I've got another one in there, Ken. It's the one of her in the car. Play that one. Maybe we can. Maybe you got to back it all the way up. Okay. Anyway, so while Ken is fumbling around with my video ad, oh, here we go. Yeah, check this out.
Sydney Sweeney has very keens.
And she has a hot car. All right. I mean, come on. You can't get much better American advertising than that. Well, the left, again, they're freaking out because that is going back to, your essential advertising principles. And it's easy, right? This one, we got hot girl, nice pair of jeans, looks really good. And then you add a hot Mustang in the middle of it. And now guys will buy jeans because there's the hot car. This is completely the opposite of everything the American left wants you to believe about American consumerism. And yesterday, I think it was yesterday, there was a fake apology that was put out by American Ego. Now, I don't know if this thing is real or not, but it's absolutely hilarious. In fact, I've got a picture of it here. Hold on just a second. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay, there we go. So go ahead and put that up. And it says, "To whom it may concern, we sincerely apologize for featuring Sydney Sweeney in our recent advertisement. In hindsight, we underestimated the combined impact of her blue eyes, blonde hair, and general hotness. Also, we did not realize how big her boobs would be. Our marketing team has been sent to denim sensitivity training. Thank you for all your feedback. Please stop emailing us. We're still trying to recover from the group chat fallout." I mean, now I don't know if this thing is completely contrived, but it's hilarious, and it's absolutely trolling the American left. And it's, again, when it comes to the left, if you just keep needling them, I mean, it just explodes. And my friends, what we are seeing, and the reason why I wanted to start with this, is we are witnessing in real time a complete rejection of the American left's vision of what America should be. And I mean, their vision is completely an episode out of the Twilight Zone. But I mean, it's I for one am glad to get back to hot girls, hot cars, and hot jeans. What about you, Ken?
I think Kid Rock could be glad to get back to listen to this.
When you play your
one.
concerts, do you ever see anybody with blue hair, armpit hair, female armpit hair? Some of these people we're looking at, kid, I don't know.
Man, listen, I was just watching your clips, and we have this low birth rate in America, and it all made sense to me. It just hit me right now, because who's going to sleep with these ugly ass, broke, crazy, deranged, TDS liberal women? I mean, you look at these rallies, it's like a bunch of women that no guy wants to sleep with, and a bunch of dudes that want to sleep with each other.
As graphic as it is, I mean, it's funny. I mean, but as graphic as it is, he nails it right on the head. That Americans are sick to death of all of this liberal nonsense. And what you are seeing is the direct result of everything the American left has done. They pushed that political pendulum so far to the left in trying to force us to believe that folks like Lizzo are attractive that, well, it has, it's sort of backfired on them. All right. Well, enough of that. Let's talk about the Minerals Committee for a minute. And again, there's so much to unpack there that I don't think that we could cover it in even an hour, maybe 2 hours. There's a lot of stuff there. But I think a good place to start is, generally speaking, what was happening there. And you had a ton of people who were very concerned about this Radiant Nuclear, and there's a lot of other stuff. The one down in Kemmerer, and there's a couple other places. I talked to a journalist last night in Platte County, and she's been working on this next era wind and solar thing. And I made the comment, I'm like, you know what? This is all really tied into one thing. I mean, yeah, we're talking about wind and solar versus nuclear, but really, it's one and the same. It's a bunch of people who are, I'm not going to say that they're all financially involved, but they're all very interested in pushing this. And it's kind of the same thing, that they've sought very little input from the public. And in the next era case, that's decidedly true. But the same thing with this Radiant Nuclear down in Bar None. Now, I want to show you a picture of what yesterday's Minerals Committee in the afternoon looked like when they started the afternoon. Look at that. Okay, so actually, show my screen up there, Ken. It's a better picture. There we go. So that's how the meeting started in the afternoon. There's only a couple of empty chairs, and you might notice, I mean, the video is totally crap in this meeting, but you notice there's a lot of people in that room. And Ken, you're a legislator. You've been in committee meetings. You know when a room looks like that, what's about to happen.
Yeah, it reminded me quite a bit of the meeting that we had in Sheridan with the Revenue Committee, and a bunch of people.
Oh, that was a good one too.
They were they were standing room only, not only in the room, but out into the rest of the room. And that one caused so much problem,
frustration
with Steve Harshman and others, that they actually changed the rules, and now the chairman have to talk about civility and all this stuff before that happens. So this one, we went back. Let's see. You took your picture down. Yeah. So this is what happens when you do stuff live. But this is a screenshot after several hours, and they finally got to public testimony. You can tell there were still some people there, but a lot of people just gave up and left.
Yeah, and that was the point. Now, I went back in the video, and they let Representative Lloyd Larson talk for over an hour, introducing that bill. Now, I admittedly, this is not an easy subject. I mean, it's kind of complicated, but over an hour worth. And there were a lot of inane questions coming from the committee, and it was very clear to me that they were just burning the clock.
Well, Tara comes out, and she says, okay, we don't want to hear from... She objected to the fact the first person they let was Bill Alleman, actually. And she says, we don't want to hear from each other. We can talk to each other anytime. We want to hear from the people. No. They really don't, because during Lloyd's testimony, they went on and on with just slow walking it and filibustering and whatever. And so when Bill gets up, one of the first things he says is, I don't come here to filibuster.
Yeah.
And kicks it right back at him.
Yeah, no, it was Representative Alleman's response was perfect. And by the way, if you want to watch a good interview that we did, I think we did it on Tuesday, but it was a panel discussion with Bill Alleman, Chairman John Baer, and Chairman Chris Knapp. And of course, Agent 29 is always here, but he was involved in the panel also. But if you want to hear Bill Alleman talk about the poll that he did, which, by the way, those poll results are at cowboystatepolitics.com. They're on the show content page if you want to see what the poll is. Well, first, let me just play cut number one, Ken. This is Jim Anderson, and he is responding to applause from the crowd. Now, just to set this up for you, Representative Alleman had just finished speaking, and he was very quick. He just explained, look, I did this poll. Here's the poll results. I've given them to you. You can tell that it wasn't a push poll or anything like that. And then he said, I'm done. There's a lot of people that want to talk.
I just want to mention, too, one of the reasons they were clapping is it was an obvious attempt by Chairman Anderson to try to trap Bill.
Yes.
And he said, don't you think it's your responsibility to help President Trump
That was
did
Cooper.
as a
That was Cooper.
It was Cooper, yeah. Anyway, hard to tell the difference sometimes.
Yeah, well, they both vote the same.
But yeah, and Bill came back and said, my responsibility is the people of District 58.
Yeah, go ahead and hit cut number 1.
Here it goes.
And if I've ever voted for this, I would not be protecting their health or their safety in my mind. And I urge a no vote on this bill.
Okay, no other questions. And thank you, Representative Landon. Hold your applause. I said no applause. God damn it.
Whoa! All right.
Or we can quit.
So first, and let's just
All right, are there any other
all right, let's just take this a piece at a time. Now, every single committee meeting that I've been in, and there have been a lot of them, you get, you're going to get a little applause every once in a while. Not so much in Cheyenne, because I think it's the being in the Capitol, people tend to be a little bit more reserved. But when you go to interim committees, I mean, this is pretty normal, right? You get people who, maybe not have attended committee meetings in the past, and they don't know that, you're not really supposed to applaud. Well, anyway, they do. And Anderson slams the gavel down. And, okay, first, the gavel is to really, when things really get out of hand, I mean, that's what the gavel is for. You don't start out by slamming the gavel down and telling people to shut up, because that's what he was doing.
Yeah, they had actually quieted themselves by the time he hit the gavel.
Yeah.
When you listen carefully, yeah.
Yeah, he smacks that gavel a couple times, and they've quieted down, and then he swears at the crowd. And I think that right there is one of the most telling parts. It tells you that the folks on the committee that are in favor of this bill are extraordinarily frustrated. But they're not frustrated that they're getting opposition. No. They're frustrated because the number of the general public that were there that had opinions. And how dare you have opinions? How dare you argue with us? How dare you say that we shouldn't do this? That's why he swore at the crowd.
I think it coupled with Bill that just came out and said, my allegiance is to these people that are sitting back here. And he came out at the beginning of his speech and he says, I'm not going to go on like everybody else has. I just want my people to be able to talk. And the people applauded him. Bill was immediately, was immediately very angry. And what makes me look at this is, why is he so emotional? Why is he so angry?
Yeah.
What is it about this situation? Why not have a comfortable discussion with the people that we're there to represent?
Yeah.
They despise the fact that there are cameras now.
Absolutely.
And they cannot do things in the smoke-filled rooms that they used to do things down at the hotel that burned down. And
well, here's, just to give you an example, one of the people that was on the committee is Senator Slithers. Tara Nethercott. Now, a couple of years ago, here's what she told the guy that we're going to talk to in about 35 minutes. Listen to this one.
All of us legislators represent all of the people of Wyoming. All of them.
Oh, you see, you don't, according to Slithers, you don't represent your constituents anymore. You represent everybody. And, let me see if I've got another soundbite here. I might.
Just every time she speaks, that condescending tone just makes my skin crawl.
Oh,
Seriously.
yeah. It's just terrible. Let's see here. Let me see if it's in here. Yep, here we go. Now listen to this. This is Ogden Driscoll. And he again is talking to Chip Neiman. And maybe we need to talk to Chip about this. Because this was one of the Chip got elected in one of the first big conservative classes. And I think it was 16 seats, something like that we won in that one. But it was Chip and John Bear and Rachel Rodriguez Williams. There was a lot of people that won, a lot of conservatives. Well, in this committee meeting, here's what old Augie has to say to Chip.
You are one of us. Okay, you're not an outside group.
Oh, you're one of us now. Okay, so you're not one of these little people.
I got the same thing from Harshman when I mentioned that revenue thing earlier, and I came out and said, I thought we were about lower taxes and smaller government. What we haven't had in our discussion is how do we, if we can't balance the books, maybe we make government smaller.
How dare
And
you say that?
He literally went toe to toe with me out in the hallway after that, called me an F and A-hole.
Yeah.
And said, this is not the place where we're going to do campaigning. This is a time to govern. I thought that was really telling.
Yeah, no, super telling. I mean, and that's the attitude of these folks. But what you're seeing is their frustration with that political pendulum that has swung further to the right. And with the advent of, and if there was one good thing that COVID did in Wyoming, it's put all of this stuff online, that it created the necessity to have online meetings because the Capitol wasn't open. You really couldn't, I mean, it was, I guess. Well, maybe in the beginning of COVID, really wasn't that many people attending the session, but it opened everything up, and now you can see what's happening, and that is what irritates them more than anything. Play cut number 5 for me. This is a constituent. Her name is Rose, and this is Jim Anderson, the chairman. He's just kind of shouted her down. Go ahead and play cut number 5.
On June 30th by phone requesting a copy of the application at 8:50 a.m.
Okay, pause.
I received an email.
Okay, so what Rose is saying, and again, you're going to have to go back and listen to it, and when we have more time, we'll go through this. But what Rose is saying is that this Radiant Energy has not gone out of their way to seek public input, and she's listing off several different meetings where there was no public comment allowed. And in Wyoming, we have the Open Meetings Act, and when you're talking about policy, you have to allow the public the time to come in and testify. And so Rose is going through this long list of times where the public was shut out. Go ahead and continue, Ken.
At 10:43 a.m., denying my request.
Rosemary, are you talking about this bill or are you talking?
I'm talking about.
Now settle down.
I'm talking about we the
down.
people. And I'm talking about what has happened and how this has been shoved through and why you need to simmer down and not shove it through.
You are out of order. You're done. You're done. The fellow with the kids, he can be next.
You forget who the hell you work for.
You bet.
Whoa.
You betcha.
We did not get
You're
public
out of
notice.
order.
Public
We'll have you
comments.
removed.
Public testimony, nothing.
Yeah, right.
You're shoving it through. And now
Yeah.
Bar 9 wants
Okay.
to cover for their asses.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, so first, she was out of line there at the end. I mean, you can't swear during a committee meeting, but it wasn't Rose that started this. It was Jim Anderson. When, first of all, she was talking about the bill. She was talking about the company that's involved in the bill, and she was discussing how they've pretty much shut the public out. And if you watch the whole video, she goes on for a couple of minutes and lists off several different meetings where there was no public comment. And then Jim Anderson, he doesn't want to hear it, and he simmer down. And if you listen to it, she really wasn't excited when he started telling her to simmer down. It's when he did that really fired her up. And, he starts slamming the gavel because, frankly, they don't want to hear it. And, they've got another agenda. And I think it's obvious. We already know that there are some legislators. I don't think any of these were on the committee, but there's some legislators who are financially involved in nuclear energy and uranium mining. There's been a lot of revelations recently of how the Senate president, he's got all sorts of different LLCs registered and, mining claims. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's underneath this that I really don't think that some of these legislators want the public to know. And so, it's the meeting yesterday, it is worth your time to go back and watch the afternoon session because you'll get a real sense of how I'm searching for a word here, the derision, that the contempt, there you go, that's the word I'm looking for, the contempt that some legislators have for you, and it's obvious.
I think that was the most telling thing I've ever witnessed. It was fascinating. I didn't get to watch it live. I was otherwise occupied, but had several threads going and people were just commenting on it, and
it's amazing.
It was amazing, yeah.
But it will show you exactly what they think of you. And by they, I mean the redcoats who used to be in power. Now, there's another aspect of this, and I don't want to go too much further into this because we've got a lot of other stuff to talk talk about today. And we'll probably talk about some of this with Chip, to Speaker Neiman. Excuse me. I still have a little bit of trouble calling him Speaker Neiman just because I've known him for so long. But go ahead and play.
Literally, you have to call him governor.
Yeah, well, we're going to ask him about that. So Rita Barenwall, we talked about her op-ed in the Cowboy yesterday and how she makes some claims that are just, I think Ken put it best. They're non sequiturs. And let me just give you one of them. And this is from the column entitled "Setting the Record Straight on, quote, Nuclear Waste." And I quote, in addition, one can't support mining and nuclear energy and not support the entire life cycle of what we're mining out of the earth. Spent fuel storage, nuclear waste, included. Being pro-nuclear is being pro-spent fuel storage and pro-mining. No. That's a non sequitur. It does not follow that if you're in favor of nuclear power, that you have to be in favor of storing the waste here. That doesn't logically follow. So this lady's name, woman's name, I don't know. I haven't met her. Maybe we could use that term. But her name is Rita Barenwall, and she's testifying in front of the committee. She is one of the nuke people for Radiant Energy. Play cut number 3 for me.
So a little bit of background about Radiant. We were founded in 2020. Kaleidos is our first reactor, and it's designed to fill major gaps that are needed for power in remote environments or for niche applications. And it can be transported anywhere, and is anywhere the power is needed without the need for regular refueling. Department of Energy selected Radiant to be the first reactor developer to test our reactor concept next year in the DOME experiment at Idaho National Lab. We're going to go in on April 1st of 2026. That is no April Fool's joke, but we're very proud to have been selected to go first.
Okay,
we will
stop right there. So did you hear it? She said, we're the first company selected to do one of these type of reactors. And on April 1st, we're going to fire it up for the first time. So these reactors have not even been turned on. Now, we're going to go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, we're going to finish the discussion about that whole part of it. I have some real reservations when, we're talking about turning this thing on for the first time. And it just feeds the narrative or feeds the idea that we really don't have all the answers. And I think that there's been a lot of examples of that. So we'll take a break and then we'll come back. Everybody sing. It's spring-ish in Wyoming. Well, what that means for the uninitiated is that it's going to be 70 degrees one day and then snow 1.5 feet the next. And really, if you don't like those two options, just wait a little bit. The weather will change. I know, it sounds a little stressful, but really you should put your mind at ease and buy a pair of socks from the Buffalo Wool Company. They'll keep you warm and dry even on the nastiest, coldest spring-ish day, and they'll keep you cool and dry even when it's 75 and sunny. To get you a pair, go to their website, thebuffalowoolco.com. Trust me, you're not going to be disappointed. Are you one of those guys that listen to the president just a little bit too closely and now you're tired of winning? Are you getting the feeling that there's been way too many good things happening in our country and you just can't take it anymore? Well, if you are, and you think you should follow Rosie O'Donnell's example and get the heck out of Dodge, you need to call Rebecca Bextel at eXp Realty. She'll make those foreign country living ideas a reality for you. All you have to do is call 307-699-3519, and she'll make sure some freedom-loving, red-blooded American will now live in the home that you no longer want. If you want to sell your house, or if you want to buy one that's way better than the house you have right now, give Rebecca a call. Again, her phone number is 307-699-3519.
I've never felt the freedom like I do. I feel stronger every day, don't you? Well, I can show you how. A new day, a new
continue to expand this program. Cowboy State Politics Live is broadcast every Tuesday through Friday at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. all the way till 10. Ken, remove the big image off the screen so they can see our beautiful faces. There we go, my friend.
I was deliberately hiding.
Yeah, well, it's okay. We are not Sydney Sweeney, though. If we could get her in the studio, I mean, it'd be a much better picture from that brand new camera over there.
We'd get even more cameras.
We'd get like 10.
Put one up on the ceiling.
No, those are mirrors. Oh, Lord. So go ahead and show them our new camera, Ken. We're continually improving the studio, and if you hadn't noticed, we got a brand new camera in here, so I'll give you another view. And it's just kind of, we don't know if it's going to stay there or not, but Ken got it yesterday, and we just hooked it up, so we could play with it a little bit. But we're continually improving the program, making it, giving you a better product. And our thinking here is if you do high quality news and you do a good show and you turn out a good product, and people will listen. And thank you very much for listening. We wouldn't be able to do this program without you, and I am eternally grateful. I have to tell you, and I say this a lot, and I want you to know that I really mean it, that when I started doing Cowboy State Politics, I never would have imagined how big of a place in my heart that you take up, that I can talk to you whenever I want, and that you'll listen. I mean, it's you really are a big part of my life, and thank you very much for that. And also, none of this is possible without God. It's I think that we tend to leave him out of the conversation when good things happen, but really, a lot of this, all of the success of Cowboy State Politics, I mean, it's a God thing. It's all the people that we've been able to meet, and Ken and I often sit back and ask, how did we end up here? I mean, really, this whole thing started when we actually both created a podcast at the same time. And at the time, it was me sitting at my kitchen table and you in your office, and whoa, look at where we've ended up.
And the people that we've had the opportunity to be around.
Yeah,
I mean, that's been
crazy. Like Harriet and
I got extra buttons. I'm still learning where they're at.
Well, anyway, my friends, we got about 20 minutes before we're going to talk to Chip, and there's a couple of other things that are happening. And every morning I get up to do show prep. I try to do it the night before, but it never works out. There's always something to watch. And last night it was my Texas Rangers finally figured out a way to beat the crappy Angels. It never fails with those guys. That it could be the last place Rockies and they'll get swept. I don't know. I mean, it's I'm recovering from several years of ashamedly being a Denver Broncos fan, so I understand losing when you shouldn't lose. But anyway, I was doing show prep this morning, and I found this one. It's a piece from Newsweek entitled ICE Detains Obama Award Winner Living in the U.S. for 20 Years. Now, the piece is meant to be kind of a pull your heartstrings type story. Look at these mean ICE agents. They're arresting a guy who Obama liked. Obama was one of his pals, recognized him. How dare you arrest him? Well, he's been living in the country illegally for 20 years. Let me read some of the piece. Quote, a Pennsylvania man who came to the United States as a child and was once recognized by former President Barack Obama is now being held in federal custody following a routine court appearance. Darwin Contreras has lived in the U.S. since he was 7 years old and was a recipient of the President's Education Awards program. Newsweek had obtained a copy of the award dated 2012 during Obama's presidency. Quote, this boy was turning into an athletic man with dreams of pursuing soccer as a career. His senior year, he unfortunately had to drop out and get a job. So instead, he picked up track and field. He motivated his teammates to go hard during practice and never stop. After graduating from high school, he got a job and continued to work hard. All the while, he's a criminal. Now, his criminal history includes convictions for theft, the possession of marijuana. This illegal alien admitted to law enforcement that he is in the country illegally. The arrest comes as the White House is attempting to carry out what it calls the largest deportation operation in U.S. history as part of Donald Trump's hardline immigration agenda. So the Newsweek piece is meant to be, look at these mean Trump people, and they're deporting this poor guy. So it doesn't matter if you were recognized by the president or not. If you are in this country illegally, you are a felon, or you definitely should be prosecuted as a felon. You broke our laws. Now, I'll admit, he probably had nothing to do. I mean, he's 7 years old. He had nothing to do with his parents bringing him here. But how many years has he had to become a U.S. citizen? How many years?
Hard to tell. I saw a protest sign the other day, not here in town, but something on.
There's
online.
another protest coming up, by the way.
Yeah. It said, "Stop kidnapping my neighbors." We're looking at ICE going out and doing their job, being labeled as kidnapping. Another one that some gal was dressed up as the Statue of Liberty holding a sign that said, "Let my people go."
Okay, so I love it when the left refers to what's written on the Statue of Liberty. Bring me my poor, you're tired, you're hungry. That's a poem. That's not a law. And okay, so it says that on the Statue of Liberty, but our laws say that you cannot be in this country illegally, regardless of if Joe Biden left the door wide open and allowed you to walk through. That doesn't mean that you haven't broken the law. My friends, we have got to get back to being a nation of laws. Under Joe Biden or whomever was controlling his marionette strings, we were a nation of men. And how many times? A good example of that is Letitia James. So she's going after Trump again, and I don't have that article; it just popped into my head. And she says, "I have my man." Okay, well, in America, we're a nation of laws. We're not a nation of men, and it is not. Our legal system is not. Show me the man, I'll show you the crime. That's what Vladimir Lenin said. Show me the man, I'll show you the crime. It is show me the crime and then find the perpetrator. That's how our legal system works. And we have to get back to being a nation of laws. And I don't really give a crap who you are, whether you're Bob Menendez and you've got gold bars stashed in your safe, or if you're Joe Blow who gets too drunk at the bar and wanders out into the street and gets arrested for public intox. We have to be a nation of laws, regardless of who you are.
I was just thinking about thought crimes. Show me the person, I'll show you the crime.
Yeah.
Even if they haven't done it yet, we'll come up with something.
Well, and that's exactly the point. But my friends, there are so many examples in our world today where we are not prosecuting criminals. That if you're high up, if you know the right people, you can get out of it. We got to stop doing that, and it starts at the top. I mean, just about every night, Christine and I sit down, and we turn on the news and get caught up, and we don't sit there. We're not these people that leaves Fox News running all day long. Well, until Christine gets home. I've got it going pretty much all the time. But often we have the conversation of when are we going to start seeing people in handcuffs? I mean, there have been serious crimes committed, and I get it. Okay, the Supreme Court ruling that helped Trump with executive privilege is probably going to help Barack Obama. I get it. We're not going to see him in handcuffs. But what about everybody else? Clapper and Brennan and Hillary Clinton and all of those. When are we going to see the really shiny bracelets? Because we've got to, my friends. We have got to get back to being a nation of laws and not a nation of men. Let's see, what else I got? We got about 15 minutes left, and I've got a number of really interesting stories, I think. Let's talk about this one. So from the New York Post, and this kind of ties into all the nuclear stuff, sort of. New York Post, EPA Chief Lee Zeldin to repeal the Holy Grail Obama-era emissions finding that hiked energy costs for everyone for years. And I quote, Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Lee Zeldin, I love that guy, I think he's awesome, is moving to repeal an Obama-era emissions finding that he once dubbed the holy grail of the climate change religion that underpinned $1 trillion worth of regulations, leading to higher energy costs for more than a decade. Zeldin revealed plans to rescind the 2009 endangerment finding during a speech at an Indianapolis auto dealership on Tuesday, promising to end 16 years of uncertainty for automakers and American consumers, and quote, with the largest deregulatory announcement in U.S. history. And this is where, and a lot of people don't look at it this way, but regulations are essentially a tax. That it costs employers and it costs you, frankly, for all of these regulations to exist. And usually it takes the form of, if you put a regulation on a small business, well, they spend more time filling out paperwork than they do selling their goods or performing their service. And the more paperwork you add, I saw a piece yesterday, and I can't remember who it was, but anyway, he was talking about the regulations in California. That even though Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom have claimed that they're reducing regulations, really what they've done is increase them. And now instead of having to submit duplicate copies, now they have to be submitted in triplicate. So they've added another layer of bureaucracy and regulations on top of it. Anytime you do that, those costs get passed on to consumers. And so if there's more paperwork I got to fill out, I'm going to get, as a business person, I'm going to get paid for my time. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to have to increase my costs. And this climate finding, it's the biggest one. It hits your energy costs.
Yeah, if you think coal, oil, natural gas, those industries have a lot of paperwork and compliance issues. Wait till we start looking at nuke.
Oh boy, yeah, I can only imagine. Let me give you a perfect example. I used to do a lot of permitting with the BLM back in the early 2000s, and my job was I'd have a client that'd say, "Hey, I've got this oil and gas lease, and I want it permitted." And in eastern Wyoming, I suppose all of Wyoming, the state is checkerboarded with federal surface, so BLM land. And if you've got a lease that you have purchased from the BLM to permit a gas well, you have to go through what's called a plan of development. And the ridiculous part of it is if you had one well or if you had 500 wells, the stack of permits is about this thick. I would literally have to make 3 trips to my car to take all of the books into the BLM and submit them. And you had to submit 5 copies of them. So imagine the trees that I killed in all of the projects that I permitted through the BLM. But like I said, the amount of paperwork was tremendous. Well, all of that paperwork and the cost of permitting, it gets passed on to consumers. And, like I say, you end up paying for it. And so this repeal of this climate finding, I mean, this is a huge step, and you have no idea what it's going to do for our economy. The EPA, quoting again, has projected that rescinding the finding could save American consumers up to $54 billion in costs. Under Obama, the EPA determined that carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, hydrofluorocarbons, perfluorocarbons, and sulfur hexafluoride emissions, primarily from cars, were threatening the, quote, the public health and welfare of current and future generations, end quote. No immediate regulations were imposed, but the finding allowed the 44th president's administration to put forward 7 subsequent rules affecting the auto industry, as well as others touching energy issues. Now, have you ever noticed that if you buy a new pickup, you're probably talking, I don't know, 70, 80 grand for a nice one, 120 for one of those luxury models that you wouldn't dare take through the woods hunting. But one of the reasons why those prices rose so dramatically is all of the regulations, emissions regulations that were put on energy companies. It costs more to produce a car that has lower emissions. And then you add on top of it all of the mandates on car companies that they had to produce a certain amount of electric vehicles, which are a loser. Unless your name is Elon Musk. He apparently figured out a way to do it profitably. But for most companies, it drove the price up, and guess who pays that price? You do. It's not the administration. It's not the car companies. Those costs are passed on to consumers. And, it's the more we reduce regulations, the lower prices are, which also means that the more cars that you can buy. And it's not just cars. It's everything. Just about every industry has a tremendous amount of regulations added on top of it. And it's... the more regulations we reduce, the better it's for the economy. More money flows out of your pocket, and you get to buy more cool stuff like, cars and motorcycles and stuff like that.
You got a song stuck in my head.
What's that?
You mentioned 5 copies, and I've got the cover of the Rolling Stone.
The cover of the Rolling Stone.
5 copies for my mama.
Exactly right. So another one, and even the left is realizing this. Ken, do you still have the video from... let's see, Chris Matthews. Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and play this. So this is Chris Matthews, he's the guy that said Obama gave him a thrill up the leg. Watch what he's saying about Trump now. And, well, it's more about you than it is about Trump. But go ahead and watch this.
I mean, these polls that come out
Or
and
maybe
show
it's
him
just-
not doing well, I don't buy that.
Say,
I think
tell me-
it's strength,
Maybe
his
it's just
strength
audio.
is still greater than the Democratic strength. He is a stronger public figure than the Democratic people. I mean, Obama still has tremendous charisma, but Trump has strength. And I think that's what all voters look for. But they want a president who is a strong figure. And he's got it. And he can, it's just there. And half the country buys it. That's what I think.
All right, so that's Chris Matthews, and I mean he's the guy that he continually said that. I mean he's been very anti-Trump, and but even he is saying that the public is going to Trump, and he's exactly right about it. And and the Democrats, they really don't have anything. Ken, if you could go ahead and throw up the Cowboy State Politics logo on the video screen, not the big one, but the one that says Sheridan, Wyoming on it for me.
You're making me crazy here today.
I know I am. All sorts of stuff. There we go. That looks better. All right. So from the Daily Caller, and this I think is probably one of the most telling things in politics today, that young men fail to find any masculine Democrat leader not named Obama. And I would argue that Obama is not really all that masculine. I mean, he's the guy that was on video saying, "Oh, young boys need a gay role model." I mean, so not exactly a masculine figure, but here's what the Daily Caller says. Quote, young American men do not have a long list of Democrat leaders they view as masculine. In fact, there seems to be only one name on it. A recent analysis of young men aged 18 to 29 by the think tank Third Way stated that most of the participants, quote, struggle to find masculine leaders within the Democrat Party outside of former President Barack Obama. Respondents recognize that the Republican Party as the most masculine and the party that has best represented the interests of men. Now think about this. Just ask yourself, out of all the Democrats, can you think of one that you would characterize as masculine? That you would look at that and say, this is a male role model. This is the John Wayne-ish version of the Democrat Party. And I can't think of a one. I love there was a meme floating around for a long time that it said, "There, Pete," and it showed a picture of Pete Buttigieg and his baby and his fake breast. And I mean, really ridiculous. And then the bottom of it said, "Our Pete." And it had a picture of Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, and his, he's all muscled up with his "We the People" tattoo. But I think that really encapsulates where the Democrat Party is right now, that they don't have any male figures because they've, for a decade, perhaps more than a decade, they've been on a mission to erase masculinity from their party. And really what they've ended up with is a bunch of weak, woke Nancy boys. They call them online that you see the term soy boy a lot. But that's what they've come up with. Guys with the messy bun, the man bun, which just makes me want to grab a pair of scissors and just cut it off. But that's where the Democrat Party's at.
That's how I feel about nose rings.
Yeah, well, and somebody ought to tell women that is not attractive at all. In fact, I would like to know the person, find out who it was that told women that stupid bull ring nose piercing was attractive, because it's not. Really, the only thing it's done is pointed out who men should not go after. Don't go after that one. Look at the bull ring coming out of her nose. Definitely not a conservative. Which, by the way, Ken, do you know how you tell the difference between a Republican woman and a Democrat woman? Do you know? The bulge in the Republican woman's pants is a gun. Oh, I know, man. I am on a roll today. I just cracked up my producer. It's great. Back to the piece here. Many men in Third Way's focus group, and this is, again, talking about the non-masculinity of the Democrat Party, pointed to affordability and the ability to support a family as major influences on their vote. They claimed that Trump was an active leader on social and economic issues, while Harris and other Democrats did not have reliable economic plans, instead focusing on transgenderism and other cultural phenomena. Quote, Harris talked a lot about the whole cultural thing, one respondent said. Also identified as a young black man, he said. That's him, the guy that they're talking to. I read that wrong. But she really didn't address the prices of everything going up that was actually going to change my day-to-day life. Too much focus on cultural inclusivity and not making our lives as civilians a bit more tolerable. The study used 3 focus groups of, quote, soft Trump-supporting young Black, Latino, and non-college white men from the 7 battleground states between the ages of 18 and 29. And what they found is that there are no masculine Democrat figures in today's politics. And it's, I think it's very evident. And, the only guy that I think maybe, I can think of 2 people that perhaps, would, maybe fit that mold. I mean, I kind of like that Josh Shapiro guy in Pennsylvania. And then, even though I disagree with just about everything, almost everything he's about, what's his name? Joe Manchin. He was at the Ramaco thing.
Yeah, it's funny because they want you to believe it should be somebody like Tim Walz.
Yeah. Tampon Tim. It's like anybody like Chip is actually going to vote for him. I mean, that's not going to happen. So anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking with Wyoming Speaker of the House, Chip Neiman. We'll do that right when we come back. But first, an extraordinarily offensive profit timeout for all you Democrats out there. We'll be back in a minute.
Ever since gold backing was removed from the dollar, the value has dropped significantly over the past few decades. Experts say this is one of the main reasons goods are more expensive and your savings are worth less each year. How would you know how many dollars to save for retirement if the valuation of the dollar changes over time? Would you work all week for that $20 gold piece? Let's look at the valuation of this coin from the 1970s to today. When President Nixon took us off the gold standard in 1971, this coin traded for about $275. Today, it trades for about $14,000. Buying and holding rare coins using only a fraction of your portfolio is our suggested way to save for the future. Call U.S. Coin Capital at 1-800-878-2646 to get your free United States Gold and Silver Buyer's Guide.
Make sure that you subscribe and follow the Cowboy State Politics podcast. You can do that from the website, cowboystatepolitics.com, or anywhere that you get your podcasts. That way, you'll make sure that you won't miss a single episode of Cowboy State Politics. Welcome to Lessons in Civility by Morton Buildings. Gentlemen, is your garage completely jam-packed full of all of your unnecessary crap? And your lovely wife has been on your tail, nagging you nonstop to clean it out? It's not because she just wants to incessantly irritate you. Chivalry dictates that you should clear out a space so she can park her car inside and you don't end up sleeping on the couch anymore. To do that, contact Nick and Jesse at Morton Buildings. Their phone number is 307-674-2532. Not only are they the experts in metal building construction, they're also skilled at keeping you out of the doghouse. One more time. Their phone number is 307-674-2532, or you can check them out at their website, mortonbuildings.com. This has been Lessons in Civility from Morton Buildings. Welcome back to the program. David Iverson, Cowboy State Politics Live on YouTube, Facebook, X, and on Rumble. You can pretty much find the program anywhere. It's almost like I'm omnipresent. Well, no, not quite that bad. But welcome back to the program, and we're joined today by Wyoming Speaker of the House, Chip Neiman. Chip, how's it going?
Going well, David. It's a beautiful day here in Northeast Wyoming. We got another 0.3 of an inch of rain this morning or last night. And so it's kind of slowed the haul on the hay down and making hay. So we're doing some repairs and trying to get ready, and this will burn off. You can see we've got some sun, but you can tell behind me, it looks like I'm living in Ireland here in Northeast Wyoming. It's here, my goodness.
Yeah, I can tell you're really stressed out there. I mean, it looks like you're, not doing any work at all. But that's not entirely true, is it?
Well, we stay busy that way. Yeah, it's been a little hectic, but we're making it work. So
fair enough. Well, I've got a number of things that I want to talk to you about, and I guess the first one is you've been talking to the cow pie about running for governor. What's that all about?
Now let's not get out ahead of our skis here. What they asked me was if I would be running for governor, and I told them the same answer that I've told everybody else. It's going to depend on a lot of things. I mean, I've got a potential open seat coming in my Senate district. If that's something that we want to look at, maybe if the folks see fit, that might be a fit. It's all hinges on Harriet. Let's be honest. I think everybody kind of knows that, and I think that was kind of the tone of that article was, what are you going to do? Well, if Harriet runs, I'm going to support her wholeheartedly, and we want to make sure that she has the best opportunity she possibly can. But I still believe Harriet would clear the field, and so
yeah,
ounces and really gets figured out exactly what she wants to do, and depending on what she does, it's going to create quite a stir. I mean, I think there's going to be some jockeying for position and people going and leaving positions and going. So, and maybe trying to pursue higher office in other ways. And so I don't know who that might be. I mean, that's, like I say, it's so fluid, but it all depends on Harriet. And at this point, we're just kind of keeping our options open to see what happens. And let's see how we get along. I mean, I've been speaker for less than a year. And so let's finish out and see how the people like the job that we do. And then when the push comes to the shove and we actually start getting closer to the decision-making process, then I guess that'll be the time. But no, just definitely not declaring for governor. Just wait.
I realize that was kind of an unfair softball to throw you.
Trying to pin me down on that. No, let's wait. Let's wait and see how things kind of shake out here for a while. I just really want to support Harriet in her bid to do that. At this point, I think she's a phenomenal choice for the state of Wyoming, as we all know how hard she works and how good a job she does nationally. I would love to see her be one of 50 as opposed to one of 430 some. I don't know exactly how many there are now in the House, but I think she'd be awesome if that's what she saw fit. But until then, we'll just keep doing what we're doing and try to do the best job we can where we're at.
All right, let's talk about that for a little bit. As you mentioned, you've only been speaker for one session, and you've had a little bit of time, to kind of reflect on how things went. So if you could characterize for me how you think your first session as House Speaker went.
My opinion, but I think we've done a tremendous job. I think there's things that we could have improved on. I think we could have done, some things differently as far as maybe some communication and stuff like that, and working with some of the different groups and all. But we had a lot going on, and I think when you really boil it all down and look at it, I think we did a tremendous job of getting conservative legislation moved, and definitely through the House. I mean, there's no question we got a lot of stuff through the House. We had a phenomenal opportunity there to move conservative legislation. We had a solid group. I think we saw that in our veto overrides. We not only was able to get the legislation through the House, but we were also able to hold that caucus together, hold that coalition together when it come crunch time, and really had to fight to push that legislation across the finish line with a governor that was willing to veto some very important pieces of legislation as far as government control, oversight, life, educational opportunities and things like that. We held together. I think it's not just me, David. I mean, and that's a lot of people say, well, you're the one running. No, it's not really. I mean, I have an incredible opportunity to work with some incredible people. There this many hands makes light work. And the reality of it is that I've got a tremendous group of people, the people of the state of Wyoming have sent to the House. And they're solidly good people that stay focused and they do a great job. So for me, it's been very easy to be speaker because I have such a wonderful network of people to work with and they get the job done. I've got phenomenal chairmen that are very dedicated. I think you saw that yesterday, and you saw some different articles put out by Chris Knapp and those folks about their feeling, their perspective on where our responsibilities lie to the people of the state of Wyoming and protecting them and making sure their costs stay as low as possible while protecting our industries. I saw Bill Alaman stand up in front of that group of people.
Wasn't he great?
I didn't get to watch much of that yesterday. We were trying to haul hay feverishly here before the rains came, but I just want to stand up and cheer. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, that's what this is about. That's about representatives representing their districts. Now, whether or not you're able to stay in alignment with administration, I really admired Representative Alaman saying, listen, my first responsibility is to my district and the people that vote for me and that I represent. I have to listen to them and represent them. Now, if that's in alignment with where we're headed as a country, that's awesome. If it's not, then let's have that discussion. But ultimately, Bill stood right up there in front of God and everybody and said, my job is to represent my district. And I admire that. That's what I appreciate. I've had my hind end chewed for saying that very same thing when I was very early in my legislative career. It's not about being a part of that group. It's about my job to represent the people that I live and rub shoulders with here in my district. And I appreciate that kind of leadership and that kind of representation. That's what it's about.
You know, it's interesting you bring that up because early on in the program, I actually played that soundbite from that committee meeting where you were told, no, Chip, you're one of us now. And one of the things I did want to ask you about. So again, that was a long time ago, a couple of years ago. But characterize for me what was going through your head when you were told that you're one of us now, that we represent all the people. You shouldn't pay any attention to those people up in Northeast Wyoming.
Well, I'll be honest, just thinking back to that right now, that was the reason I ran. That was the reason that I ran, was because people were tired of the fact that they couldn't count on me or our representative to go down there and listen to us and take our views and our values and our desires to the legislature. That is not how this should work. This should work that we each individually have very different districts. We have responsibilities and different issues in those districts that need to be addressed by the people that they vote for and send down there. My whole hope as a citizen was that if I voted for somebody, that I could count on them to go down and represent me, not go down and do something and then come back and try to convince me that it was a good idea. That's backwards. I mean, the idea should be we should go get information, provide it to our communities, to our people in our districts, and let them have access to that information. And then they decide what they'd like to see happen, how it affects them, and what their feelings, desires, impacts are going to be on them. And then I want to give you your marching orders, and you go down there, and we want to count on the fact that you're going to follow those directives. That's what I ran to try to not be. And I think that hearing Bill say that yesterday was just very encouraging to me. It just blessed my heart, because that's what people should expect from their representatives, is that I'm there to represent you first. And if we can work through the details of this and you're satisfied with where it's headed, then bully, we'll move ahead. If you're not, then we should move ahead. It's not a club, ladies and gentlemen. I know a lot of folks think that it is, and once you get down there, you kind of operate under a different set of guidelines and rules. We represent, we don't dictate, and that's the problem. I think sometimes we get into where we're going to dictate to you as opposed to represent. And so
yeah, there was a lot of dictating going on yesterday, Chip. Hey, Agent 29's got something for you.
Hey, Chip, good to see you. You can't see me though, but that's okay.
Oh, that's Pendergraph. Hey,
Yeah,
how you doing, Ken?
Hey, I ran for very much the same reason. I got really sick and tired of people coming back and speaking locally and telling me what I wanted to hear, what they thought I wanted to hear, and then going there and doing whatever they wanted to do. And we mentioned earlier in the show how much of a difference it's made since we put those cameras out. And we hear people like Representative Harshman that wants to go back to the good old days, the bad old days. But I really like where we're headed. I couldn't say enough good things about Bill. He and I talked after that, and it's terrific.
Yeah, it's. But go ahead, Chip.
No, I was just going to reiterate that. I mean, that's the people of Bill's district need to appreciate, whether you agree or don't agree with Bill. And we even heard about some folks that I guess maybe don't align politically that appreciated his willingness to stand up and fight for the people of his district. They all should appreciate a representative that is willing to stand up in front of a group of their peers and say, listen, I'm not here for you. I'm here for the people I represent at home. And that, I think, is the dynamic that is changing. It has changed a lot in the Wyoming legislature, and I think it's a positive by all measures for the people of the state of Wyoming. People are listening, and I think that's what makes it work right.
All right, so I think I would be remiss if I didn't at least ask for your thoughts on all this nuclear business. So what do you make of the Radiant Nuclear, all of it? I mean, there was a bill that they were talking about yesterday that got tabled. What's your take on the whole thing?
Well, I think there again, it goes back to the idea that you need to listen to what the public is saying about this. I think the public spoke loud and clear, especially in Bill's district there, what they want and see. I've done polling in my district. I paid, for a poll to ask the people in my district how they feel about nuclear coming in, because it's not, this isn't just an issue that's going to affect a very specific area. This is a statewide issue. This is going to come to our state if we don't handle this correctly in a way that is thoughtful and do some real soul searching and figuring out how we're going to make this fit and how the people of the state of Wyoming are going to work this into their lives. The people in my district are not supportive of it. 70% of them say that, they're not against necessarily nuclear, but they're very concerned with the lack of information as far as the storage of the byproduct, the waste. And they don't want to find Wyoming as a waste dumping ground. Until we have a national repository, and actually there's a real impetus and push to make sure that happens. I think there's a lot of these states that are really hesitant about just becoming that place. And I'm a little concerned about the fact that Wyoming, because of our low population and our wide open spaces, that a lot of these bigger states that don't seem to want to embrace nuclear waste storage are more than willing to store it in our backyard. And I'm not interested in that because the people of my district don't want that. And so, there's a real desire right now on the part of the people of Wyoming that I believe, speaking from my district's perspective and folks I talk to, is not here. And if you're going to do this, then you need to have a better plan than we'll fix it if it comes up. That is not a good place to be. And I didn't even realize until that, that meeting yesterday, and did a little research about what's going on the Wind River Indian Reservation.
Yeah.
And the legacy that was left there, that blew me away. You don't hear about those kinds of things. To have folks get up and give that kind of compelling testimony. I mean, not that we don't want to see, the further development and research going into nuclear and doing something that's good, because I think there's probably real value, but also there's other things on the horizon. What about nuclear fusion? They're working on it right now. Far less toxic when you're dealing with the byproducts. What about the fact that, coal, oil, and natural gas are not things that if you spill it, you don't have to worry about it having a 10,000-year half-life. These are things that we are good at in Wyoming. We've got the technology. You look at Dry Fork Station, the efficiencies that we've developed there with those resources. Nuclear, to me, is an option. It's not the option. And I think that's what we need to recognize in Wyoming. We've got some incredibly solid, less toxic alternatives out there that we are currently developing and working with. And I think the people of the state of Wyoming feel that way. And the sentiment I get, gentlemen, is that people are a little resistant to the idea that why here? I mean, in the rush to to take on these jobs, which is always a great idea. We're looking for opportunities, but nobody wants to talk about the byproducts very much. That's kind of, well, we'll deal with that when it comes. The people of the state of Wyoming are savvy, and they know this. And the questions I get asked is, why don't they do this at home? Why do they want to do it here in Wyoming? You know, a great deal, then do it at home.
We're not getting a straight answer. That's part of it. And it's like they're pushing really hard. They point at Trump and say, okay, he's got this date, an arbitrary date out there. We got to have it by that point. But they say, this is only going to be our waste stored here. Well, this plant produces pieces of equipment that will move all over the country, perhaps all over the world. And whenever they have to refuel that stuff comes back here because it's their mess. And that means everybody else's mess becomes ours. And yet they'll try to tell you, no, that's not really the way it is. And I've dug into it quite a bit over the last couple of weeks, and the more I dig, the less I like it.
Well, in my personal opinion, oh, go ahead, Chip.
No, I was just going to say, here's the thing, and I've had some discussions with some of the folks from radio. I still don't understand exactly all the nuances of it, of why this isn't possible. We'll build them. We'll build them for you, but you put the battery in that thing somewhere else. If you can come up with the development of designing and creating this machine, if that's Tennessee, if that's Virginia, if that's Utah, if that's Idaho, if that's California, we've got the workforce, so you say, and we can build it with the talented people that are here in Wyoming, which there's no doubt we have the most talented workforce in the world, as far as I'm concerned. We've proven that. Or go drive around our state and look at what the folks of Wyoming can do. But we don't want to store that waste, but we'll gladly build it for you. If there's another place where you want to store the waste, build it here. But put the battery in that thing somewhere else. I mean, granted, this thing can be hauled in the back of a semi truck. I mean, I can load hay in the morning here and send it to South Carolina, and within 72 hours, it's being unloaded in South Carolina. If you can't take a unit that's going to be designed to be portable, build the structure, do it, create it, and design it that when it gets to another facility that is already doing that kind of work, can stick the battery in it and then send it on, so be it. What the idea was told to me was that, well, you can't work on it if you don't build it and put it all together in one spot, and you have to send it back to where it was built to do any service work on it. Well, that's kind of like telling me as a rancher or a farmer that any John Deere tractor that I've purchased has to go back to Waterloo or Tumwa, Iowa to be able to be worked on. That doesn't make sense. I mean, granted, we're talking about nuclear, but there's facilities that handle it. They do that. We could manufacture it, in my mind. Let's build them. But you put the battery in them somewhere else until we get a national repository where even that state would probably be thrilled that they don't have to store that stuff. So I don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions. I think this thing is being rushed so hard and so fast, and there's a full court press on. And when you're starting to talk about kind of questioning how American you are and how supportive you are of what's going on, because you're not willing to jump on board and do this heartbeat fast, and you got to start delivering units by 28, and you haven't even got the ground broken there to start building the facility to build the units. You've got 2 years. I mean, I don't even expect to start a project and have it all done and be able to build nuclear reactors within 2 years. I don't know. There's a lot to hear that are unanswered, and I just think we need to be more thoughtful about this and not just rush because everybody else seems to be wanting to take advantage of this. But I don't see a lot of states that are fighting to get it. But maybe I'm all wet.
Well, that's the big question that I have. If all of this is so great and it's such an opportunity and we should absolutely do it, well, then why the heck aren't other states like jumping at the chance to be the nuclear waste depository? Nobody wants to answer that question because I don't think that it has an answer. I mean, they're trying to push this through, and like you said, rush it through and not answer any of the questions. And I think yesterday's committee meeting was a perfect example of that. I mean, earlier on in the show, Chip, I showed a picture of what that room looked like at the beginning of that meeting, and it was jam-packed full of people wanting to testify on this. And in my opinion, and Ken and I kind of talked about this before the show, I think they were trying to burn the clock so that they didn't have to listen to as many people in that room. And I think I don't think Wyoming citizens are going to put up with it, not when you're talking about nuclear waste.
Well, and that's the thing. You're talking about nuclear waste, you're talking about half-lives of 10,000 years. I mean, that's not something that you just march into lightly. And so I was very thankful to your point there about how the chairman handled that. I was very, very, very pleased and thankful to see them stay the extra hours to make sure that everybody that wanted to testify had that opportunity. I think that's critical. And I appreciated both the chairman's willingness to stay for that. I was sorry to see that Representative Knapp's, Chairman Knapp's information from that gentleman there couldn't get on, but hopefully the committee will see that information and have it really digest it. And I would love to be able to see that. I think the public needs to see that information too. But they were good about making sure that folks all had a chance, and things got a little contentious, but there's a lot at stake. It's the future of Wyoming.
Well, I don't know if you heard this one or not, Chip, and hopefully you can hear this, but Ken, play cut number 1 again for me.
And if I've ever voted for this, I would not be protecting their health or their safety in my mind. And I urge a no vote on this bill.
Okay, no other questions. And thank you, Representative Len.
There's the applause.
Oh, hold your applause. I said no applause. God damn it.
Did you hear that one, Chippy?
Or we can quit.
Yeah, hard not to hear that one. Yeah. You know, and here's what's interesting. I got called off the floor when I was a freshman legislator for saying the word crap.
Yep, you did.
Twice. So, yeah. Yeah, I know passions can get high, and there's a lot of stuff going on there. And I mean, I'm not going to be the first one to throw stones. I mean, I know that people can get passionate, stuff like that, but yeah.
I think sometimes people get their panties in a wad.
Watch it, Pendergraph. You know, that'll get in the doghouse too. So,
all right, I got one more question for you, Chip. I recently attended the ribbon cutting at Ramaco for all the rare earth minerals, and I understand there's a rare earth mine that's supposed to be happening in your neck of the woods. And I just thought I'd get your thoughts on rare earth minerals, mining, and maybe you can give me an update on what's happening with that mine.
Well, yeah, we've got the RER, the rare earth mines up here on top of the Bear Lodge Mountains there by Warren Peak. It is moving ahead. I was down there earlier this spring, late winter, early spring, and we toured the demo plant that's being completed right now. They've got material there to start processing, and they are moving ahead. General Atomics is involved with that, and they are getting ready to ramp that thing up and be processed. It'd be shortly. It's an incredible engineering design, and it's moving ahead and is going to take place. So we've got one of the highest quality rare elements, rare earths in the Bear Lodge Mountains, and we're excited about what's going to happen there and the opportunity that it's going to have to keep Wyoming and this nation. Wyoming producing an element that is critical to the protection and security of this nation. And we're going to do everything we can to stop our dependence on China and their basically stranglehold on the rare elements markets, on these abilities to be able to get those elements available, because we need them for our security, all the way down to this phone I'm doing this on, and all of our technology is circled and is being directed by that need for those rare elements. So yes, it's moving ahead, and the plant is being built. I would encourage anybody to get up there and take a good look at that. It's an incredible opportunity, and it's coming to fruition. So we're very excited up here in this area to be able to be a part of that removal of our dependence on basically a foreign adversary. And for these other rare element mines that are being developed around the state, going to work well together. This mine here in the hills is extremely high in multiple highly desirable products, and then also the ability to process it, and looking at forward down the road and be able to offer maybe some finished products and stuff. So I think Wyoming is is well on its way to being one of the biggest producers and of leading force in the rare elements. And like I say, taking away this dependency on nations that I don't think necessarily always have our best interests at heart.
Fair enough. Well, Chip, I appreciate your time coming on the program. Looks like you've got some more hay to put up if it doesn't rain on you. But
I can get her quit raining, but I don't want it that. I need this rain. I never fuss about moisture in Wyoming.
Fair enough. Appreciate it, Chip. You have a good afternoon.
You guys too. Thank you for the opportunity, guys.
All right. Have a good day. All right. Yep. We'll be back in just a second. We'll take our third break, and then we'll continue on and finish up the program. Are you tired of all the meaningless political drivel floating around right now? Endless commentary that really doesn't have anything backing it up? Do you long for the days of true investigative journalism coming from an authoritative source who really doesn't care how popular and apparently good-looking a politician is? Fortunately for you, that's what I do on Cowboy State Politics. New episodes are published every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, and you can get them anywhere that you get your podcasts. iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, really any of them will work. But the easiest way is just to go to the website, cowboystatepolitics.com. There, you can find all of the shows, as well as any of the articles I might bring up during the course of the program. Cowboy State Politics Live, the program you're listening to right now, is broadcast every Tuesday through Friday beginning at 8 a.m. Pay attention to all of that other block-headed nonsense if you want. Just make sure that you don't miss an episode of Cowboy State Politics. And now, back to our program. Welcome back to the program. David Iverson, Cowboy State Politics Live, doing what I was born to do. Documented to be almost always right 99% of the time. A record that nobody in the mainstream media can even come close to. And, you know, I get it. They don't even want to try. But if they just started now, they'd be doing a much better service to Wyoming citizens, you know, actually doing their job, reporting facts, news being news. Keep the news on the news page and keep the opinion on the opinion page. Of course, this is an opinion show, and you know you're listening to it to get my opinion on things. So thank you very much for listening. One of the items that we haven't talked a heck of a lot about is the push to make America healthy again, and it's a big topic that it's one of those that I don't know a heck of a lot about. But I found this piece in justthenews.com this morning, and it's called "Creeping Collectivism." Appeals court upholds ideological mandate on doctors to keep mandates. And see, this is, we complain about politics being involved in just about everything. You know, Agent 29 is a military man, and he'll tell you that politicians running a war is a good way to lose. But we tend to do that a lot. We inject politics into things that were never meant to have politics in them. One of those is medicine. Need I remind anybody about the vaccine mandate? You know, it's safe and effective. Everybody should take it. And then come to find out it was neither safe nor was it effective. But Dr. Azada Katabi's lawyers warn, quote, "There is little to stop governments around the country from compelling continuing education instructors in any trade or profession to profess all manner of controversial state-endorsed topics." And just to prove that to you, a friend of mine was over at an ethics meeting for real estate yesterday. I know. It's hard to imagine ethical real estate agents, but it's true they have to take an ethics course. And my friend sent me screenshots of the paperwork that was distributed at this meeting. And it straight up said that the goal of being a real estate agent is so that we can have an equitable distribution of property. That's not the goal of a real estate agent. The goal of a real estate agent is to buy and sell homes and make money. It doesn't have anything to do about the equitable distribution of property. But with medicine, I mean, we're talking, I mean, there is nothing that is more personal to you than your health. I mean, your relationship with your doctor is, I mean, it better be one of the more important relationships in your life. And God bless you if you don't have to talk to doctors very often. Being a diabetic, I talk to doctors all the time, and I'm telling you, I don't need the government in between me and my doctor. Well, the legal doctrine of government speech, which inhibits individual First Amendment rights, got a massive expansion from the Pacific to the Rockies, thanks to a federal appeals court that upheld ideological requirements for ongoing professional licensing rules, according to lawyers for a California doctor challenging her state's rules. The Pacific Legal Foundation told Just the News that it will file a petition for a rehearing by the full Ninth Circuit following a 3-judge panel's ruling Friday that deemed, and listen to this, the Golden State's mandatory implicit bias training in accredited continuing education, of which doctors must complete 50 hours every 2 years, government speech. I mean, this is a tremendous ruling. But beyond California, the ruling blesses current and potential ideological requirements in the CME in Oregon, Washington, Nevada, Arizona, Idaho, Alaska, Montana, and Hawaii. The panel was nominated by Clinton, Obama, Biden, all Democrats. Now, the logic of the ruling means that there is little to stop governments around the country from compelling continuing education instructors in any trade or profession to profess all manner of controversial state-endorsed topics. So it's a little bit confusing, but basically what happened is the state of California told these continuing education instructors that they could push their ideological agenda on doctors. And the Pacific Legal Foundation is filing a suit to try to stop that. Because think about that. Right, that your health care is directed by politics, and this has been a continuing trend that we've seen. Oh man, since 2020, since they started developing the vaccine, and I think and let's just be perfectly honest. It was President Trump who first had the big push for the vaccine. The difference being he's not the one that said you had to take it. He said we've got this vaccine, we're working on it. And in the end, it didn't end up being a great vaccine at all, but.
Yes, I like your plan, except it sucks, so let me do the plan, and that way it might be really good.
Exactly right. Anyway, I mean, this is a big thing, and it's one of the reasons why Wyoming passed Article 1, Section 38 of the Wyoming Constitution, which says that you've got the right to make your own health care decisions, and that the government doesn't need to be involved in that in any way, shape, or form. Now, the big problem with that now is Melissa Owens down in Teton County, the district judge who said that abortion is health care, which, she was just writing law out of whole cloth that didn't really have any basis in law. But we need to keep politics out of health care and politics out of a lot of different stuff.
So that brings up a question, because keep politics out of the judiciary. Oh, we can't keep politics out of it. Politics isn't everything. So we've kind of talked ourselves a little bit into a contradiction. And I understand your sentiment, but can we have it both ways?
Okay, so there's a couple of things to unpack in there. First, can you get politics out of anything? I mean, can you eradicate it from everything? No, because all of our institutions are run by people, and people have implicit biases. The goal, however, is to try to keep politics out of it. And when we talk about the judiciary, you have political appointees, and let's be honest, even at the federal level, judges are political appointees, though they should attempt not to be. And I think the linchpin in what you're saying here is that you have to try. Right? It's not that we intend to inject politics into it. And that's the difference, right? When you arbitrarily inject politics into anything, whether it be healthcare or the judiciary or anything, I mean, you're entrenching that existing bias that's already there. And I think the important part here is that to the greatest extent possible, we try to keep politics out of it. And, it all comes back to just trying to be a fair individual. And a lot of people, they don't possess the ability to hold two contradictory ideas in their head at one time and to try to be fair about it. And, Agent 29, you've been sitting here with a couple of people that I've interviewed that I don't really agree with a heck of a lot of what they said, and yet we were still able to have a pleasant discussion. And the best example of that, I think, is the interview we did with Representative Sherwood. I mean, I don't think that there's a single thing that we really agreed on. Maybe one. The Wyoming's a pretty cool place, but beyond that, there wasn't a lot. But we were still able to have a conversation and be fair about it. To try to acknowledge, and maybe this is it. Maybe this is the genesis of your question here, that you acknowledge that you have a bias and that you'd work your hardest to keep your biases out of it, and that you try to be fair. And that's the role of a judge, to sit there and look at things and say, well, there's two sides to this story, and it seems to me like the fairest outcome of it is this. Judges, same thing. I mean, that's true. Doctors have, and maybe, here we go. See, I am just piling up the awesome arguments here. So teachers, right? I've been told for years that the best teacher, you'll never know which side of the political aisle that they sit on. That their job is to instruct students on whatever it is, math, science, biology, history, whatever. But the point is to teach history, just what happened, and to try to leave your personal feelings out of it and just be fair. And I think that's the point there, is that your doctor, you shouldn't know whether they're a Democrat or a Republican, though I would really like to know. Thankfully, my doctor is a Republican. He doesn't really listen to my show, which I'm a little disturbed by. But anyway, we should just try. And I think that's the main point. So, and I've been trying to avoid this article for a while, but it just keeps rearing its ugly head. It's Hillary-gate, Russia-gate, and it's, no, I'm not going to talk about Epstein here, where I promised you we would avoid that until there was actually news. But the Daily Caller has a piece out entitled, Top Republicans Call for Declassification of Thumb Drives Containing Hillary Clinton's Emails. Bet you didn't know this would come back to rear its ugly head, did ya? Quote, 2 top Republicans in the House and the Senate have asked the FBI to review for potential declassification 8 thumb drives that contain documents pertaining to the investigation into the 2016 Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton and her use of a private email server for official business and handling classified information. Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley of Iowa and House Permanent Select Committee of Intelligence Chair Rick Crawford of Arkansas asked FBI Director Kash Patel to review the documents. Now, this is according to a social media post that was put up by Chuck Grassley, and I can show you what that social media post was. Let me see if I can find it here. Here it is. Let's see. Here we go. So the drives containing unreviewed info on the Clinton email scandal and mishandling of highly classified info have been sitting in an FBI offshoot office since 2018. I sent a letter with House Intel Chair Crawford asking Patel to review the materials and report back ASAP. So the thing here is those email materials, those thumb drives, were classified as intelligence, and they were done so for a political motive. That it wasn't, and I'm sure there was probably some classified information in there, but really all of that was political, including James Comey saying, oh, a reasonable person would not prosecute this. Bull crap. I know a lot of people that want to see that woman in irons. But the thumb drives contain droves of emails apparently obtained by Russian intelligence from Clinton. Now, if you remember right, those email servers were hacked, and we know that for a fact. Former President Barack Obama and members of Congress recently declassified, recently declassified documents indicate. The existence of the thumb drives was revealed in a document tranche declassified last week. Director of Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, and this all goes back to all the documents that she unsealed, Pam Bondi and CIA Director John Ratcliffe have revealed through a set of declassified materials apparent conspiracy by Obama and the top spy agency to try to ruin the presidency of Donald Trump, which they were pretty close to doing. And, I mean, it's, again, and here's the other side of this. So we've got all these, and I mentioned earlier on the program that I want to see people in irons. I want to see those shiny bracelets on a whole bunch of them. But the question is, how do we get there? Barack Obama, he's not going to be arrested. Hillary Clinton deserves to be arrested. James Clapper, John Brennan, they all deserve to be arrested. I mean, it's pretty clear to me if you look at those documents that they absolutely should. I mean, they engaged in a coup to go after President Trump. Well, there's a piece in the Blaze, and this one, and I told you I wasn't going to talk about Epstein specifically, but I think that he has a point. No, we're not going to talk about him directly, not at all. We're going to talk about a special prosecutor and why that's a disastrously bad idea. A small group of influential Republican politicians and influencers spent the month calling for Attorney General Pam Bondi to appoint a special counsel to investigate that case. They'll say that it's all in the name of conspiracy, transparency, and getting answers, but no special counsel will give them satisfaction. They're falling into the trap of the grand old party that they fell into 8 years ago, and they'll end up just as disappointed if they get their wish. The Attorney General appoints special counsels in accordance with the 1999 law seeking to rein in earlier independent counsels. So special counsel, independent counsel, they're two different sheep. Over the course of July, Republicans Lauren Boebert, Tim Burchett, Eric Burleson, Anna Paulina Luna, Scott Perry, and Nancy Mace all said that one is needed. Mace is expected to announce a run for South Carolina governor later on. I don't know if she already did. This was published on the 28th, so it was a couple days ago. But at this stage, the Epstein story and this whole one about what Brennan and Obama and all of them did is morphing into something more than a theory. It's a belief system. And like any belief system, it doesn't bend easily to facts or to ambiguity. Technically, special counsels answer to the Attorney General. Theoretically, they can even be fired for exceeding their authority or failing in their duties. In reality, though, it's difficult to imagine an Attorney General firing a special counsel for just about any reason. Examples of that are the Robert Mueller investigation. Now, he was appointed, illegally, by the way, by a Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein after Attorney General Jeff Sessions was tricked into recusing himself from the Russia hoax, and John Durham, who was appointed by Bill Barr. Now, there's a key difference between these two, that Durham was appointed to investigate political opponents inside the government or recently inside the government who had abused their powers. Mueller for the White House to investigate itself. Now, we know how the Mueller thing played out. Republicans, they were duped by Democrats and the media into thinking that they all needed a little bit more transparency. What resulted was a years-long witch hunt that failed to make anything better. When it was over, it only fed into the seemingly unending Russia news cycle. Let me give you another example. Ballot tabulation machines. Now, you don't hear me talk about this very often because the subject kind of irritates me a little bit because there's no end to it. And I even had, a long time ago, I interviewed this guy named Dr. Frank. At the time, I mean, he was making the rounds in a lot of political circles. And on the program, he said, well, I'm not going to believe it until I can see the inside of the machine for myself. And I asked him, well, that's illegal. There is a law preventing you from seeing it. And he says, repeal it. And he said, so wait, and I asked him, I'm like, look, you have looked at all the documents, you have looked at everything the Secretary of State can give you, and you're still not convinced. And he persisted in saying, I'm not going to believe that I'm wrong until I can see inside it. Well, it's impossible for him to see inside it simply because we have a law. Now, I suppose you could change the law, but right now it's illegal. And the reason for it is you don't want anybody else seeing how these things work because they might be able to be hacked. And so in the end, it was forcing everybody else to try to prove a negative, right? It's the age-old question of when did you stop beating your wife? Okay. Well, there's no right answer to that question. It's a loaded question. And so if you're the person that is believed that no matter what is said, no matter what evidence is presented to you. You're not going to believe it until it can be proven to your own satisfaction, but you've already convinced yourself that it's already going to happen, and so you can't be convinced of the reverse. And so this is a lot like this Epstein story. That I'll admit that, Pam Bondi said some things, the president said some things, but it's kind of morphed into a religion in a similar fashion in that it doesn't matter what is shown to the public. There are still a large group of people that aren't going to believe it. And even though I personally, let me give you another example, I am personally pretty well convinced that there was some shenanigans going on with the 2020 election. I absolutely think that. Now, I think that it was rigged by a bunch of different things, by Mark Zuckerberg, by lawyers, by the CIA, by the Hunter Biden laptop, by the media, by Facebook, by X. I think it was rigged in a whole bunch of different ways. But it would be almost impossible to convince me without showing me absolute evidence that everything was fine, that there wasn't any problem with it. The same holds true for all of these other things, that it may be impossible to provide the evidence necessary to convince people of the reverse. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is to provide absolute proof. And I don't think that there is enough proof there. And, and this is like a lot of things. What was the most recent one? The JFK files. Okay. How long have we been talking about JFK? The man on the grassy knoll and all of that. And how many movies were made about JFK's assassination? And when all of those documents were released, when Trump declassified them all, what did we learn? Nothing. Nothing beyond what we pretty much already knew. We pretty much already knew that Lee Harvey Oswald was playing patty cake with the communists down in Cuba. We knew that. There really wasn't any bombshell. And I'm not saying there isn't a bombshell there somewhere, but I'm saying that there's a big group of people that is probably not going to make any difference. Earlier on in the program, earlier this week, we talked about the new right. These folks that they're trying to morph conservative ideas into, crazy conspiracy theories. And so very little exists that's going to change their mind, and I don't think that this is any one of them. And, I think it's going to be an extraordinary expense, waste of money, I might say. And I don't think you're going to get too much out of it, all in the sake of transparency. And I do think that transparency is important, but I don't think you're going to get it here. And here's the other thing, too. And I think that Trump was right on about this. How many people have touched that Epstein list, if it even exists, the Epstein report? How many different hands have been on it? How many years has it been around? Lots, right? Through a highly democratic, liberal, progressive administration. How many people do you think touched that? Can you really, if it exists, and I don't know if it does or not, but if it exists, can you trust anything that's in it? I would say no, because we know how political that thing is. And so I agree with the Blaze. I think a special prosecutor is an insanely dumb idea. It's going to be a waste of money, and I think the only thing it will do is re-entrench whatever conspiracy is out there. And by the way, I don't mean that conspiracies are not true. I think they absolutely are. I've documented a lot of them on this program, but I think it's only going to re-entrench it. So one of the people that I really hope doesn't get re-entrenched into this is Yasmin Crockett. And, there are some people who run for public office, and the only reason they're doing it is because they are extraordinary narcissists. Agent 29, that's totally you. I don't know why you destroyed your life and destroy is probably too strong of a word. I know he blames it all on me, or at least part of it, but but anyway, there's these folks that run for public office just because of their own narcissism. And one of those is Yasmin Crockett. Now, she threatened to bar The Atlantic from publishing a profile about her after a reporter for the outlet reached out to several of her congressional colleagues without her permission. The Atlantic's Elaine Godfrey talked to dozens of Democratic congressmen and women, including members of the House Oversight Committee, to give insight on Crockett for a lengthy profile. As for her colleagues, 4 days before the story was published, Crockett called me to express frustration that I had reached out to so many House members without telling her first. She told me shutting down the profile and revoking all permissions, Godfrey wrote. Now, 13 members of the Oversight and Judiciary Committee, along with 20 Democrats, either did not respond or declined to comment. Among those who did respond was Democrat Representative Julie Johnson, who said that while her fellow members, quote, do not necessarily agree with her aggressive communication style, she's thrilled with Crockett. Senior staffers of the Democrat said that Crockett is highly conscious of her outward appearance and even has a headshot of herself as her phone lock screen, according to The Atlantic. The rowdy Congresswoman further complained that her party should have rallied behind her to protect the Congresswoman. But because she constantly tells her colleagues of how big her social media platform is, that sometimes they refer to her as a paper bag full of food that supposedly looks like crap. The only reason I brought this article up is so that I could read you that last paragraph. And if you know anything about Yasmin Crockett, she's one of those Democrats that she's probably worse at AOC, if that's possible. Let's see here. Another piece that I've got here. Oh, but you know what? I did a quick video this morning, and just to kind of bring some levity to the room, there's a video floating around of a WNBA game. And one of the players loses her wig on the court. And at first, I mean, I've got so many questions. Why would you wear a wig when you're playing an NBA game or a WNBA game? But Ken, if you've got it, go ahead and play that dumb video. This is hilarious. It's kind of hard to see, but watch it. Okay, there she is. Oh, there comes the wig. And it repeats. And she's bald. And then she grabs the wig and runs off the court. This is one of the reasons why people don't want to watch the WNBA. That and professional wrestling has a bigger following than does the WNBA, and we all know that that's kind of scripted a little bit. Of course, don't tell that to the lovely Christine. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, honey. I'm totally joking. But it's true. WWE has way more people that watch it than the WNBA.
I miss roller derby.
Actually, there are more people that watch roller derby than the WNBA. It's just ridiculous. Now, another one, and if you think that the Democrats, and I want to try to give some good news to the Democrats. I know I don't do that very often, but there is at least one person in the world that has a lower approval rating than they do. The president of Peru. Check this out. Throw this up on the screen, Ken. She has an approval rating of a whopping 1.3%. I don't even know how you can do that. Certainly there's more than 1% of the population, more than 1.3 that think you're doing a heck of a job.
Does her mom live there?
Well, I mean, that might be the 1%. I don't know. From the Daily Caller. Peru's embattled president achieved the lowest ratings of her career this month, dropping to an abysmal 1.3% approval rating. President Dina Boluarte's approval ratings have been steadily declining, starting the year with a dismal 4% approval rating and constantly decreasing each month. And this is a case where somebody should not say, well, things could always be worse. And because with her, I mean, they obviously can be. Let's see here. Women approved of her slightly more than men, recording a 1.5% approval rating, as opposed to 1% of men that approve of her. Can you imagine that strategy meeting in Agent 29? And somebody's got to be able to say, well, it can't really go much further down. I mean, the only place you can go is up from here. We're at rock bottom. Just absolutely incredible. Well, my friends, we've pretty much burned through another busy broadcast day on the program. Thank you to Speaker of the House, Chip Neiman, for joining the program. Really appreciate it. We've done a lot of interviews this week. I mean, it's been a pretty busy week. If you want to go back and listen to them or watch them, they're all on my social media platform. And of course, Facebook doesn't keep them for very long. I think it's like a week, 2 weeks. But they're all available on YouTube and Rumble. And just to give you the schedule, Tuesday, it was the panel discussion with Bill Alleman, John Baer, Chris Knapp, and our beloved Agent 29. And then yesterday, we had Sean Meehan talking about the Convention of States. And, of course, today, Speaker of the House, Chip Neiman. So it has been a busy week here on the program. Well, tomorrow we've got Open Line Friday. You definitely don't want to miss it. Everything that you wanted to weigh in on, and I'll actually answer the phone tomorrow, or at least turn on the phone so that you can call in. But for now, from the base of the Bighorns, I'm David Iverson, and this is Cowboy State.